Hello and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Dr. Westman. Today we're going to be finding out how many carbs are right for you. And it just so happens that in today's bonus, we have Dr. Westman's free keto phase calculator helping you identify how many carbs are right for you. We'll put a link for you in the description. How are things going, Eric?
Going great. How are you, Glenn?
Very good, thank you. Eric, it's such an interesting and contentious topic. So much so that you've actually written and launched your new book dedicated to this very subject.
Right. Well, confusion about carbs, right? Yeah. So the title we picked was End Your Carb Confusion, to help people understand what carbohydrates are, of course, sugars and starches, and then what they do in the body. And, it's interesting to see. I've been in this world for now about 20 years in the keto, low carb nutrition world, which includes not keto, not low carb nutrition as well. And as I've been seeing things progress, there's sort of a natural tendency to want to take a pendulum and go all the way to the other end. And when in most things, the truth is somewhere in the middle, or not everyone can be at the wide extreme. So we've gone from fat in the food is bad, for the last 50 years, really since the 1970s. And that is kind of fading away. So it's shifting to sugar in the food, and carbs in the food are bad. And yet you see people who eat carbohydrates and they're healthy, or at least they seem to be healthy. And there are people all over the world who eat carbohydrates. And so to think that you're going to have a world where there's no carbs and it's just keto is a little bit, almost magical thinking. So how do we put it all together where some people can eat carbs and be healthy, and some people don't eat carbs and they're healthy? And how do you figure out where you fit on this spectrum? So it's not an all or nothing. There's actually a spectrum of carb intake. And in the big picture, we've shifted the discussion from how much fat should you have in the diet. That's kind of, it's fading away actually in the research world, with finally groups of researchers coming through writing papers saying dietary fat is fine. So what we're doing is shifting the discussion to, okay, well, if sugar and starches are the metabolically inflammatory things, how much can you have, or should you limit at all? I mean, so that's really what we're getting into, to try to help you figure out where would you be on this carbohydrate spectrum.
Now, for folks that maybe have not read the book yet or haven't taken our quiz yet, that they can find out which carb phase they actually belong to, can you help define the three different phases that you've defined in your book?
Well, the most lowest carb, the keto kind of program, we've been using at Duke now for over 20 years in research and in clinical care. And so we use the keto kind of program, which is real food based. It's protein comes first, and you run your body on fat. You're not adding in oils and all this, the internet keto version you see everywhere. This is the therapeutic diet that we use to fix diabetes, fix obesity. If you have a severe metabolic problem like metabolic syndrome, high triglyceride, low HDL, we use that 20-gram keto phase, and it's not 20 for everyone, but it's about that. And so we use that. We've been using it in our clinic under medical supervision to help people to get off medications, or if you're not. If you don't have any medical problem, it's fine to do the low carb keto if you're trying to just lose weight or fix heartburn, PCOS, something like that. And we instruct you that you might want to start at that keto level if you're trying to fix one of these nagging problems you've had that's not, in a medical sense, bad, worrisome, like heartburn, although doctors can prescribe medicine for it. So we have you, figure out or check box or take the survey, and we'll see if you fit in that, either that first keto one, and then there's a second level and a third level. So not everyone needs to be keto, which might be a surprise to those who are in the keto echo chamber, because I've been sort of one of the pioneers of the research on the keto diet for so long. But I wanted to bring together the science that other people had done. David Ludwig at Harvard, Christopher Gardner at Stanford. These are colleagues of mine in the, so to speak, in the medical nutrition research world. And they've studied diets that are higher in carbs and will be healthy for people if you have the right metabolism. So that's the key, is that we will help you figure out, based on your metabolism, well, and your lifestyle, although metabolism and lifestyle generally go together. So you might be at phase 1, that keto, or phase 2 or phase 3, which are higher levels of carbohydrates, and be able to be healthy, do what you want to do, enjoy your life without worrying too much about foods and nutrition.
Now, the quiz that we've designed to help folks to determine which phase they belong to, let's just understand those phases. The phase 1 is from 0 to 20 grams total carbs per day. Phase 2 is from 20 to 50 grams total carbs per day. And phase 3 is from 50 to 150 grams of total carbs per day. And the great thing is, whether you read the book and you go through the table, that'll get you to which phase you belong to. Or if you take the quiz, that's just a quick and easy way. You answer a number of questions, and that'll point you right in the direction of which phase is best for you. So for the folks watching this episode, we will put a link in the description for that keto phase calculator or quiz, and that'll help you out. Now, how is it that some folks need to restrict carbs to 20 grams total per day, while others are able to have, let's say, 150 grams of total carbs per day and still remain healthy? I know that you often speak about your brother. He's in the same family. You guys are in the same family. He's able to have much higher carb intake than, let's say, you.
Right, and many people, you'll notice that even in your own family, there are different abilities to eat more carbs or eat differently, if you will. So part of it is genetics. Did you get the gene that makes you a good storer of energy? Meaning, the classic joke, or what people say, is, I look at food and I gain weight. And if you were dealt that gene, which you can't just look at food and gain weight, but you can take very small amounts and store. Some people have that metabolism, and so you'll know from when you're very young. If you the history I'll get is, I was put on a diet by my father when I was 10 years old. So this is taking a history now of someone who's 50 or 60 years old. So if you had a weight problem and you were eating in a world that was filled with carbohydrates, you'll declare yourself very quickly as a child that you're one of the people who will store the energy really well. And so today, if your child is gaining weight at the age of 8, 10, and more than would be just would go away during the teenage growth spurt, and your pediatrician can help you figure that out, you'll just notice some children in your own family will gain the weight naturally and will not gain the weight. And what tends to go together is the lifestyle side. So if genetically you're able to burn fat really well, really easy, you tend to be more active, more energetic, and you can eat more carbs and burn fat really well. If you tend to store carbs really easily and you don't burn fat well, you tend to not want to do exercise. So you tend to kind of plump up and then not want to exercise. And I remember a classic line from Gary Taubes, who's a journalist who wrote a pioneering work called Good Calories, Bad Calories. He said, there are different kinds of people, like different kinds of dogs. It's not that extreme, but some dogs like to lie around and then go chase rabbits. Those are beagles. And hound dogs, if you put them on a treadmill, they don't turn into a greyhound. They're natural runners, and you race them on a racetrack. So there are different kinds of genetic tendencies that we have. Some people are natural exercisers. I mean, just look at the people who are in the Olympics. They have a different body type and a different sort of genetic predisposition. I could never be a gymnast, for example. And then the environment goes hand in hand. But if you were, for example, given that genetics of having the ability to store energy really well, but you weren't in an environment full of sugar and starches, because starches get digested as sugar, you wouldn't gain the weight in the same way as if you were raised in an environment like in North Carolina, where they have these little, cupcakes that children are given, even every day now. So there's always a balance of genetics and environment that fulfills. Sometimes it's all genetics, not typically though, and sometimes it's all environment, or it's a combination of the two. So you really need to figure out how your genetic tendency is, and the quiz we give helps figure that out. Because if you've developed obesity, for example, and you're 40 years old, you've had the tendency to gain, and you've lived in a carb eating world, which is generally the case, you're going to be put into a phase that's lower in carbohydrates because of your ability to store the carbohydrate as fat and not burn the fat so well.
Now, for folks that take this quiz, or this quiz that we're gonna identify and put into the description, it's pretty easy. They answer a number of questions, they get the results, as I mentioned. But you've actually done all the heavy lifting, because you've taken your years of clinical experience and identified the right questions to ask to help funnel people into the exact correct phase that they need to be in. How did you come up with the questions? Is it just your clinical experience over the years, or?
Well, the clinical experience in the Duke Keto Medicine Clinic is very helpful for me, but it's also reading the other literature, the other primary studies, the research that other nutrition experts have done. And again, Harvard, Stanford, and Duke, where I am, we're all pretty much on board with the idea that fat itself is not the bad guy. And now so really what's happened is the ability to talk about diet in terms of carbohydrates simplifies things so much, because there's really only one factor. Once you get to the real food idea, no junk foods and highly processed foods, but the simplicity, and that's another theme that I've been trying to work on for 20 years now, is keep things simple, easy, not complicated. And once you bring the discussion about nutrition to carbohydrate, because that is so powerful a tool, or a dial on the weight and ability to burn fat in your body, or put on weight, extra weight. That's why it makes it simple, that we can put you into a different category and come up with a different phase based on the carbohydrates, based on the experience I have and the experience of other researchers. And so I wanted to bring in not just our research. This isn't just a keto book, and or even a keto phase. Some people will be put into a phase like my brother, who was always able to eat more carbohydrates and loves fruit and naturally goes out and exercises. He's just kind of an example. He's the one who played basketball in college. Of three boys, I have two brothers growing up, and the other two, we didn't play professional basketball, and we were more sitting and happy reading, and so I wanted to come up with a book and a quiz for you to take, to be able to make it simple, make something that's really effective and healthy for people, and to get outside the keto echo chamber as well, because not everyone needs to do keto. And I'm okay with that. I want you to be able to understand that it's about, the discussion should be about carbs today, not fat. And that's really what our focus is on.
Eric, thank you so much. Just to give folks out there wanting to find this keto quiz or calculator, first of all, we're going to put the link for the quiz in the description of this video. We're also going to be putting the quiz into future videos, so you'll be able to find it in the description of future videos. And then, of course, you'll be able to find it on our website at adaptyourlifeacademy.com. If you'd also like to learn about more of our upcoming courses, Just remember that is adaptyourlifeacademy.com. Eric, we certainly thank you for your knowledge and information, but we also thank you very much for helping us with the keto quiz calculator, helping folks find the right phase that is best suited for them. So on behalf of all of us, thank you so much. And we look forward to catching up with you again next week. Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you, Glenn.
Take care.
If you like this video, you're going to love our Adapt Your Life Academy. So click on the link in the description to find out more.